morning sun cast long shadows across the ruins of New York City, as Commander Vextar watched his archaeological team work through the rubble. 300 years had passed since the Great Plague wiped out humanity, and the Vorthak Empire now controlled what remained of Earth. The reptilian commander stood 7 feet tall, his scaled green skin gleaming in the sunlight as he observed the excavation of what his scientists believed to be the last human settlement. Dr. Kolmesh, the lead archaeologist, approached with excitement in his yellow eyes. "Commander, we have found something remarkable in the underground chambers," he said, his forked tongue flicking out as he spoke. "The humans built extensive bunkers beneath this area. Our scans show sealed chambers that might contain preserved artifacts from their final days." Vextar nodded, his clawed hands clasped behind his back. The Galactic Council had declared Earth a protected historical site, but the Vorthak had convinced them that proper archaeological study was necessary to understand how such a promising species had fallen so quickly to disease. In truth, the Vorthak were searching for human technology that might prove useful to their empire. "Proceed with the excavation," Vextar ordered. "The Council expects a full report on human capabilities before their extinction. Any technology we recover could help prevent similar tragedies in other species." The archaeological team used plasma cutters to breach the sealed blast doors leading to the underground complex. As the heavy metal barriers fell away, stale air rushed out, carrying with it the scent of preserved machinery and something else that the Vorthak sensors could not identify. The tunnels stretched deep into the earth, far deeper than their initial scans had suggested. 3 hours into the excavation, Dr. Kolmesh made a discovery that would change everything. Hidden in the deepest chamber behind layers of security doors and shielding, sat a device unlike anything in their databases. It appeared to be some kind of communication array, its crystalline components still glowing with a faint blue energy after 3 centuries of abandonment. "Commander, this device is still active," Dr. Kolmesh called out, his voice echoing through the underground chamber. "The power source appears to be some form of zero-point energy extraction. Our records show no evidence that humans possessed such technology." Vextar descended into the chamber, his heavy footsteps clanging on the metal stairs. The device stood in the center of the room, surrounded by banks of computers and control panels that hummed with quiet energy. Strange symbols covered every surface, but they were not the primitive human writing that the Vorthak had studied. These markings seemed to shift and change as he watched them, adapting to his presence. "Scan everything," Vextar commanded. "I want to know how this survived the plague and why it is still operational." As Dr. Kolmesh began his detailed scans, the device suddenly activated. Lights raced across its surface in complex patterns, and a low harmonic tone filled the chamber. The Vorthak scientists stepped back in alarm as the tone grew louder and more complex, reaching frequencies that made their scales vibrate uncomfortably. "Sir, the device is transmitting," the communication officer reported from the surface. "The signal is incredibly powerful and appears to be broadcasting on frequencies we have never encountered. It is reaching beyond our solar system." Vextar felt a chill run down his spine despite his cold-blooded nature. "Shut it down immediately," he ordered. "We cannot, sir," Dr. Kolmesh replied, his voice filled with growing concern. "The device has some kind of automatic protection system. Our attempts to interfere with it are being blocked by an energy field we cannot penetrate." The transmission continued for exactly 17 minutes before the device powered down as suddenly as it had activated. The chamber fell silent except for the quiet hum of the surrounding computers. The Vorthak team exchanged worried glances, their scientific excitement now replaced by unease. For 3 days, nothing happened. Vextar filed his report with the Galactic Council, describing the discovery but downplaying the implications of the transmission. He convinced himself that the device had simply malfunctioned after centuries of abandonment, sending out meaningless signals into the void. On the 4th day, long-range sensors detected something approaching the outer edge of the solar system. The contact appeared gradually, as if emerging from empty space itself. At first, the Vorthak fleet stationed around Earth assumed it was an asteroid or piece of space debris. But as it drew closer, its artificial nature became unmistakable. The object was a ship, but unlike any vessel in the Galactic Council databases, its hull seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it, giving it an almost ghostly appearance against the stars. No energy signatures registered on their sensors, Yet it moved with purpose and intelligence toward Earth. Admiral Zektor, commander of the Vorthak fleet, immediately ordered his ships to intercept the unknown vessel. 12 heavy cruisers moved to surround the intruder, their weapons powered and ready. The strange ship made no aggressive moves but continued its steady approach toward Earth. Unknown vessel, you are entering restricted space, Admiral Zektor broadcast on all standard frequencies. Identify yourself immediately or we will consider you hostile. The response came not in words but in action. The unknown ship suddenly accelerated beyond anything the Vorthak had thought possible, reaching speeds that should have torn any known hull apart. It moved past their intercepting fleet as if they were standing still, leaving trails of strange energy in its wake. Fire warning shots, Admiral Zektor ordered, his confidence shaken by the vessel's impossible performance. The Vorthak cruisers opened fire with plasma cannons, sending bright bolts of energy toward the intruder. The weapons struck what appeared to be empty space around the ship, creating brilliant flashes of light but causing no apparent damage. Whatever shielding technology the vessel possessed, it was far beyond anything the Galactic Council had developed. As the unknown ship entered Earth's atmosphere, it finally responded to the Vorthak communications. The voice that came through their speakers was unmistakably human, speaking in clear galactic standard with a confidence that chilled every reptilian heart that heard it. "This is Commander Jake Morrison of the Human Colonial Republic ship New Dawn," the voice said calmly. "We received your archaeological team's signal 3 days ago. Thank you for maintaining our homeworld in our absence. We have come to reclaim what belongs to us." The silence that followed was deafening. Every Vorthak in the system stared at their communication equipment in disbelief. Humans were extinct. The plague had killed them all. The Galactic Council had verified this fact decades ago. "Impossible," Admiral Zektor whispered, but even as he spoke, he knew that everything his people believed about humanity's fate was about to change forever. The Galactic Council chamber buzzed with nervous energy as representatives from 7 major species gathered for an emergency session. News of humanity's return had spread through their communication networks faster than wildfire, creating panic and confusion across civilized space. Council Speaker Zethrin, a tall blue-skinned humanoid with 4 arms, called for order as the delegates argued among themselves. Ambassador Kate Phillips stepped through the main entrance of the chamber, followed by a small human delegation. The aliens fell silent as they got their first look at living humans in over 3 centuries. Kate appeared to be in her 30s with brown hair and calm green eyes that seemed to take in everything around her. She wore a simple black uniform with no visible weapons or technology. Yet something about her presence made the alien delegates uncomfortable. "Honored representatives," Kate said, her voice carrying clearly through the vast chamber without any apparent amplification device. "My name is Ambassador Kate Phillips, speaking for the Human Colonial Republic. We appreciate this opportunity to address the Council and clarify our current situation." High Inquisitor Mordek of the Zalani theocracy rose from his seat, his insect-like features twisted with disgust. "This is impossible," he clicked through his translator. "Humans were destroyed by divine plague 300 years ago. These must be imposters or some form of genetic experiment." Kate smiled, an expression that somehow seemed more threatening than reassuring to the watching aliens. "I understand your confusion, Inquisitor. Your records are incomplete. Humanity did suffer greatly during what you call the Great Plague, but we were not destroyed. We simply withdrew from galactic society to rebuild and grow stronger." Captain Ryan Stone, standing beside Kate, activated a small device that projected a holographic display above the council chamber. The image showed star charts marking human colonies throughout the Outer Rim territories, places the Galactic Council had assumed were empty space. Hundreds of worlds glowed with the indicators of active human civilization. "For 3 centuries, we have been watching and learning," Kate continued. "During this time, we made remarkable advances in 3 key areas. First, biological enhancement and medical technology that allowed us to overcome the plague and improve human capabilities. Second, energy manipulation systems that surpass anything currently known to galactic science. Third, quantum computing networks that process information in ways your current technology cannot match." Dr. Nina Rodriguez stepped forward, carrying what appeared to be a simple metal cube. "This device contains our medical database," she said, placing it on the speaker's podium. "Our analysis of the plague that supposedly killed humanity reveals some interesting facts. The disease was not natural. It was specifically engineered to target human genetic markers while leaving other species unaffected. A shocked murmur ran through the chamber. The Vorthak delegation shifted uncomfortably in their seats while the Hive Collective representatives clicked their mandibles in agitation. Kate waited for the noise to die down before continuing. "Our investigation identified the source of this biological weapon," she said, her voice taking on a harder edge. "The plague was developed jointly by the Vorthak Empire, the Hive Collective, and the Mordani Syndicate, as a means of eliminating human competition for resources and territory. You did not simply fail to help us during our crisis. You created the crisis." Vorthak Admiral Zektor stood abruptly, his scales flushing dark red with anger. "These are lies and accusations without proof," he hissed. "Even if such evidence existed, it would be irrelevant now. Humanity is weak and few in number. You cannot threaten the established order of galactic civilization." Engineer Alex Turner smiled and pulled out what looked like an ordinary pen. He pointed it at an empty section of the chamber floor and pressed a button. Instantly, a complex piece of machinery materialized out of thin air, complete and fully functional. The device hummed with power and began producing small metal objects that fell into a collection bin. "This is a matter compiler," Alex explained calmly. "It converts raw energy directly into organized matter according to programmed specifications. The energy source is what you might call controlled dark matter manipulation. The machine I just created will continue producing pure metals and complex components indefinitely, as long as power is supplied." The alien delegates stared in stunned silence. Matter compilation technology had been theoretical for thousands of years. No species had ever achieved practical application of the principles involved, yet this human had created a working device as easily as writing a note. Chief Engineer Ben Wright activated another device that projected images of human ships in space. The vessels shown bore no resemblance to the primitive craft the aliens remembered from human history. These ships seemed to bend light around themselves and moved in ways that defied known physics. "Our shipbuilding capabilities have advanced significantly," Ben explained. "We can now construct vessels that operate partially in normal space and partially in higher dimensions. This allows for faster-than-light travel without the limitations of hyperspace corridors that restrict your current fleets." High Inquisitor Mordek rose again, his compound eyes gleaming with fanatical intensity. "These capabilities prove that humanity has become an evolutionary aberration," he declared. "They have abandoned their natural limitations and become something unnatural. They represent a threat to the divine order of creation itself." The Zalani delegation began chanting in their ancient language while the Hive Collective representatives clicked in aggressive patterns. The Mordani Syndicate leaders whispered among themselves in their encrypted communication codes. Within minutes, it became clear that the chamber was dividing into two factions. Kate watched the growing chaos with apparent calm before speaking again. "We did not come here to threaten anyone," she said. "We came to reclaim our rightful territories and establish peaceful relations with species willing to coexist. However, we are fully prepared to defend ourselves against any aggression." Council Speaker Zethron struggled to maintain order as delegates shouted accusations and threats. The chamber erupted into complete pandemonium when High Inquisitor Mordek announced that the Zalani theocracy would never accept human return and called for immediate military action. As the human delegation prepared to leave, Ambassador Phillips delivered one final statement that silenced the entire chamber. "We offer friendship to those who desire it and respect to those who earn it," she said. "But we will not be victims again. The next move is yours, but choose carefully. We are not the same species you tried to destroy 3 centuries ago." The humans walked out of the chamber with the same calm confidence they had shown upon arrival, leaving behind a council chamber full of aliens who suddenly realized that the balance of power in the galaxy had shifted forever. Within hours, secret communications flew between the Vorthak Empire, Hive Collective, and Mordani Syndicate as they began planning what they believed would be a quick and decisive war against the returning human threat. War Leader Kethvar of the Hive Collective stood before the massive tactical display showing the Jupiter system, where human ships had been detected gathering near the gas giant's moons. His insect features gleamed with anticipation as he reviewed the battle plans one final time. The alliance of Vorthak Empire, Hive Collective, and Mordani Syndicate had assembled the largest fleet in galactic history for this moment. 500 ships against perhaps 20 human vessels. Kethvar clicked to his subordinates. Their technology may be advanced, but they cannot overcome such overwhelming numbers. We will crush them quickly and send a message to any other humans hiding in the outer rim. Admiral Zektor's voice crackled through the communication system from his flagship. Our intelligence suggests the humans are using Jupiter's magnetic field to power some kind of experimental weapons. We must strike before they can complete whatever they are building. General Thax of the Mordani Syndicate added his cold mechanical voice to the discussion. My analysis indicates human ships rely heavily on energy-based defenses. Our kinetic bombardment weapons should penetrate their shields effectively. We will target their engines first to prevent escape. The Allied fleet moved into attack formation as they approached the Jupiter system. Each species contributed their finest warships and most experienced crews. The Vorthak brought their heavy plasma artillery cruisers. The Hive Collective deployed swarms of fast attack fighters. The Mordani Syndicate provided long-range missile platforms equipped with planet-killing warheads. Captain Ben Wright watched the approaching enemy fleet from the bridge of his ship Defiance, one of humanity's newest experimental vessels. The human fleet appeared small and vulnerable compared to the massive alien armada bearing down on them. But Ben knew appearances could be deceiving. Sir, enemy fleet will be in weapons range in 15 minutes, reported Lieutenant Amy Foster from the tactical station. They are maintaining standard attack formation and seem confident of victory. Of course they are, Ben replied calmly. They think they're fighting the same humans who fled 300 years ago. Let them maintain that illusion until the last possible moment. Dr. Nina Rodriguez worked at her station, monitoring the biological signatures of the approaching alien crews. All enemy vessels show normal crew activity patterns, she reported. No sign they suspect what we're really capable of. The first shots came from the Mordani missile platforms, launching waves of high-explosive warheads toward the human formation. The missiles moved faster than most ships could travel, designed to overwhelm enemy defenses through sheer numbers and speed. Human ships responded by doing something impossible. Instead of moving to avoid the missiles or raising defensive barriers, they simply absorbed the incoming weapons. The missiles struck human hulls and vanished completely, as if the ships were eating the attacks and converting them into something else. Impossible, War Leader Kethvar whispered, as his sensors showed the missiles had not exploded or been deflected. They had simply ceased to exist upon contact with human vessels. The Vorthak cruisers opened fire next, sending massive plasma bolts toward the human fleet. These weapons carried enough energy to vaporize entire cities, but when they struck human ships, the same thing happened. The plasma beams disappeared on contact, leaving the human vessels completely undamaged. Captain Wright smiled as he felt his ship's power levels rising dramatically. Energy conversion systems working perfectly, he announced to his crew. Their attacks are just making us stronger. The human ships began to glow with accumulated energy as they absorbed everything the alien fleet could throw at them. Then, without warning, they started moving in ways that violated every known law of physics. Human vessels shifted sideways through space without turning, appeared in multiple locations simultaneously, and passed through solid matter as if it did not exist. They're phasing in and out of normal space, Lieutenant Foster reported with excitement. The phase drive systems are working even better than the simulations predicted. The alien fleet found themselves unable to target enemies that existed in multiple dimensions at once. Their weapons passed harmlessly through ships that were only partially present in normal space. Panic began spreading through the Allied crews as they realized their massive technological advantage meant nothing. General Sam Brooks opened communication channels to the entire alien fleet from his command ship. Attention Allied forces, his voice broadcast clearly through their systems. You came here expecting to fight primitive humans with outdated technology. That was your first mistake. Human fighters suddenly appeared throughout the alien formation, having somehow bypassed all their defenses and detection systems. These small craft moved like living things, responding to pilot thoughts faster than conventional controls could operate. Your second mistake, Brooks continued, was assuming we would fight you the same way we fought 3 centuries ago. The human fighters opened fire with weapons that targeted biological nervous systems instead of ship hulls. Alien crews throughout the fleet suddenly collapsed unconscious as neural disruptor beams swept through their vessels. Ship after ship went dark as their crews fell into deep sleep, leaving their vessels intact but completely helpless. War Leader Kethvar watched in horror as his entire battle group fell silent within minutes. The massive ships drifted powerlessly through space while their crews lay unconscious on the deck. The humans had somehow knocked out thousands of trained warriors without killing a single one. "This is impossible," Admiral Zektor gasped, as his own bridge crew began collapsing around him. "No weapon can target biological functions through military-grade shielding." Dr. Rodriguez's voice answered him through the communication system. "Our neural disruptors operate on quantum frequencies that pass through matter like light through glass. We specifically designed them to incapacitate rather than kill, because we are not interested in genocide." Within 30 minutes, the entire Allied fleet hung motionless in space. Every ship remained structurally intact, but every crew member slept peacefully under the influence of human neural weapons. The humans could have destroyed the entire force easily, but had chosen mercy instead. General Brooks broadcast his message to every listening post and communication relay in the galaxy. "To all species and governments currently listening to this transmission, we want you to understand something important. The fleet you just sent against us represented the combined military might of 3 major galactic powers. We defeated them without destroying a single vessel or killing a single person." He paused to let that fact sink in before continuing. "This engagement involved less than 10% of current human military capabilities. We offer one choice to all who hear this message. Acknowledge human sovereignty over our original territories and work toward peaceful coexistence, or face a war you cannot possibly win." The unconscious alien crews would wake up in a few hours with no permanent damage, but they would carry with them the knowledge that humanity had returned stronger than anyone had imagined possible. The message was clear. The old galactic order was finished and a new age was beginning, whether the aliens liked it or not. Prime Minister Neldar of the peaceful Arathi Republic stood before the emergency assembly of remaining galactic leaders, his pale blue skin showing the stress patterns that indicated deep concern. The defeated Jupiter had shaken every government in known space, but some species still refused to accept the new reality. "We must attempt diplomatic solutions," Neldar urged the gathered representatives. "The humans demonstrated they could have destroyed our fleets but chose mercy instead. This suggests they may be willing to negotiate if we approach them with respect and honesty." High Inquisitor Mordek slammed his clawed hand on the podium, his compound eyes glowing with fanatic fury. "The Arathi speak of compromise with abominations," he hissed. "These creatures have violated the natural order through their unnatural enhancements. They must be destroyed completely, or they will corrupt the entire galaxy." General Vaxtel of the Cronin military caste nodded agreement. "My warriors do not retreat from any enemy, regardless of their technology. The humans may have superior ships, but they are still biological creatures. They can be killed like any other living thing." Ambassador Telnari of the Aquatic Confederation added her melodic voice to the discussion. "The Cronin and Zelani have convinced 2 additional species to join their alliance. They plan to test human ground combat capabilities by invading one of the outer colonies." The hawkish alliance had indeed grown, now including the savage Reknari pack hunters and the technological synthetic collective. Together, they commanded enough firepower to level entire planets, and they believed that human advantages in space would not translate to surface warfare. Meanwhile, on the human colony world of New Sanctuary, daily life continued as it had for generations. Children played in parks filled with flowers that bloomed in impossible colors. Adults tended gardens where food plants grew faster and larger than anything found in nature. The colonists seemed completely unaware that a massive invasion fleet was approaching their peaceful world. President Mary Johnson received the intelligence reports in her office overlooking the main settlement. The building appeared to be made of simple wood and glass, but appearances were deceiving in human territory. Everything the colonists had built incorporated defensive technologies that would surprise any attackers. "The alien fleet will arrive in approximately 6 hours," reported Commander Luke Davis, head of Colonial Security. "Intelligence estimates suggest they're bringing enough ground troops to conquer a dozen normal worlds." Mary smiled as she watched children playing with toys that looked like simple building blocks and stuffed animals. "Have the evacuation protocols been distributed to all families?" she asked. "Every citizen received their instructions this morning," Luke confirmed. "Emergency supplies are ready and the colony ship Wanderer is standing by in orbit. We can evacuate the entire population in under 4 hours if necessary." The invasion began at dawn with bombardment from orbit, as alien ships tried to soften human defenses before landing their troops. Massive explosions erupted across the landscape as energy beams and kinetic weapons struck the surface. When the bombardment ended, the aliens expected to find burning ruins and panicked survivors. Instead, their sensors showed that every human structure remained completely intact. The weapons that should have vaporized entire city blocks had been absorbed harmlessly by buildings that looked like ordinary houses and shops. General Karnoth of the Cronin military caste led the first wave of ground troops personally. His warriors were 8 feet tall, covered in natural armor plating and equipped with the finest weapons their civilization could produce. They expected to face terrified human civilians hiding in whatever shelters they could find. The landing craft touched down in what appeared to be empty fields outside the main human settlement. Thousands of alien soldiers poured out, ready for battle against primitive opponents. They advanced in perfect military formation toward buildings that showed no signs of defensive preparations. The attack began when a human child named Tommy Williams, who appeared to be about 10 years old, walked out to meet the advancing army. He carried what looked like a simple toy robot in his hands and seemed completely unafraid of the massive alien warriors bearing down on him. "Hello," Tommy said politely to General Karnoth. "My mom asked me to tell you that you're not supposed to be here. Would you please go away?" General Karnoth stared down at the small human child in disbelief. "Stand aside, young creature," he rumbled through his translator. "We have come to claim this world for the Alliance. Your people will surrender or be destroyed." Tommy tilted his head thoughtfully and pressed a button on his toy robot. The device instantly transformed into a full-sized combat android that stood 12 feet tall and bristled with advanced weapon systems. "I asked nicely," Tommy said with a slight frown. "Mom says I should always try asking nicely first." The android opened fire with weapons that sent waves of energy through the alien formation. Cronin warriors who had never been defeated in personal combat fell unconscious as neural disruptors targeted their nervous systems. Their advanced armor provided no protection against weapons designed to affect biological functions directly. More human children emerged from buildings throughout the settlement, each carrying toys that transformed into sophisticated military equipment. Stuffed animals became reconnaissance drones. Building blocks assembled themselves into defensive barriers. Simple games turned into tactical coordination systems that linked every civilian into a unified defense network. Adult colonists joined the response with equal effectiveness. Farmers stepped out of their fields carrying agricultural tools that fired energy beams, capable of disabling alien vehicles. Teachers emerged from schools with classroom supplies that generated force fields and communication jamming systems. The most shocking revelation came when the colonists themselves demonstrated physical capabilities far beyond normal human limits. Elderly grandparents moved with the speed and agility of trained athletes. Teenagers lifted alien vehicles with their bare hands. Even young children showed strength and endurance that exceeded most adult alien species. Commander Luke Davis coordinated the defense from what appeared to be a simple community center. In reality, the building housed computational systems more advanced than anything in galactic civilization. Every human colonist was connected to the network, allowing perfect coordination without any visible communication devices. "All alien forces are neutralized," he reported to President Johnson. "No human casualties, no permanent damage to enemy personnel. Total engagement time was 18 minutes. The alien invasion force lay unconscious across the settlement, their weapons and vehicles disabled but undamaged. The humans had demonstrated that their enhancements extended far beyond technology into biological capabilities that made every civilian a formidable opponent. General Pete Harrison arrived with the evacuation fleet as planned, even though no evacuation was needed. The massive colony ship Wanderer descended from orbit, its size dwarfing the alien invasion fleet still hanging helplessly in space. "Attention alien forces," Harrison broadcast to the unconscious armies below and the fleet above. "You attempted to test human ground combat capabilities. Consider the test complete. Your forces will recover in approximately 2 hours with no permanent damage." The colony ship's cargo bays opened, revealing that it could indeed evacuate the entire civilian population within hours if necessary. But more importantly, it demonstrated that humans could abandon any world instantly while taking everything of value with them, leaving nothing for conquerors to claim. As the alien forces slowly regained consciousness, they found themselves alone on a completely empty world. Every human, every building, every piece of technology had vanished without a trace. The colonists had simply picked up their entire civilization and left, turning New Sanctuary into a barren rock, booby-trapped with devices that would make the planet uninhabitable for decades. Emperor Zarthek of the crumbling Vorthak Empire stared at the tactical display showing the final assault plan with growing desperation. 2 devastating defeats had shattered the alien alliance, but pride and fear drove them toward one last desperate gambit. If they could destroy Earth itself, perhaps they could break humanity's spirit and force them back into hiding. "This is our final chance," the Emperor declared to his remaining allies. "The humans may have superior technology, but Earth is their homeworld. They will defend it with everything they have, spreading their forces thin. We can break through and destroy the planet before they can stop us." High Inquisitor Mordek nodded eagerly, his fanatic eyes gleaming with anticipation. The destruction of their birth world will prove to the galaxy that these abominations can be defeated. Other species will rally to our cause once they see human weakness. The combined fleet that approached Earth represented the absolute last reserves of 5 alien civilizations. Nearly 1,000 ships of every size and design moved toward the solar system in the largest military formation ever assembled. They expected to face desperate human defenders, fighting to protect their most sacred. World Admiral Susan Clark watched the approaching enemy armada from the bridge of the orbital station that had been built around Earth. The structure appeared modest compared to the massive alien fleet, but like everything human, its true nature was hidden beneath deceptive appearances. "Enemy fleet will reach weapons range in 30 minutes, reported Captain Paul Green from his position at the tactical station. "Intelligence confirms this represents the combined military strength of the remaining hostile alliance." Susan nodded calmly as she observed the alien formation through the station's viewing ports. "Signal the home fleet to take positions," she ordered. "It's time to end this conflict permanently." What happened next would become legend throughout the galaxy. As the alien fleet approached Earth, expecting to fight through layers of desperate human defenders, they instead encountered something that challenged their understanding of reality itself. The space around Earth suddenly filled with human ships, but not in the way anyone expected. Vessels emerged from what appeared to be empty space, materializing out of dimensions the aliens didn't know existed. The small human fleet the aliens had detected was revealed to be just the visible portion of a force that existed, partially outside normal space. Captain Green activated the station's primary defensive systems, and the aliens discovered that what they had thought was a simple orbital platform was actually larger than most planets. The structure extended through multiple dimensions, with most of its mass existing in parallel space where alien sensors could not detect it. "Attention, alien fleet," Admiral Clark broadcast to the approaching enemy. "You are approaching Earth, sovereign territory of the Human Colonial Republic. This is your final warning to withdraw immediately." Emperor Zarthek responded with defiant fury. "We will not be intimidated by dimensional tricks and hidden ships. Fire all weapons and destroy that abomination of a station." The alien fleet opened fire with every weapon at their disposal. Energy beams, kinetic projectiles, and exotic matter warheads streaked toward the human defensive position. The barrage contained enough destructive force to shatter moons and vaporize asteroid belts. Every single shot missed its target completely. The weapons passed through empty space where the human station appeared to be, striking nothing but vacuum. The aliens watched in growing horror as they realized the human defenders existed in a state of reality that made them untouchable by conventional attacks. Secretary of State John Miller's voice reached every ship in the alien fleet through communication systems they thought were secure. "Your weapons cannot harm targets that exist primarily in dark matter space," he explained calmly. "Our defensive technologies have advanced beyond your ability to comprehend or counter." The human counterattack began with ships emerging from dark matter clouds throughout the solar system. These vessels moved in ways that violated every known law of physics, appearing instantly at multiple locations and firing weapons that seemed to bend space itself around their targets. But the humans did not destroy the alien fleet as they easily could have done. Instead, they used the same neural disruptor technology that had proven so effective in previous battles. One by one, alien ships went dark as their crews fell unconscious, leaving their vessels intact but powerless. Emperor Zarthek found himself alone on his flagship's bridge as his crew collapsed around him. Through the communication system, he heard Admiral Clark's voice offering terms that would determine the future of galactic civilization. "The war is over," she announced to every conscious being in the system. "You attempted to destroy our homeworld and failed completely. You now have two choices: unconditional surrender, or we will demonstrate why no species should ever threaten humanity again." The Emperor looked around his empty bridge and realized that continued resistance was not just futile, but suicidal. "What terms do you offer?" he asked, his voice heavy with defeat. Secretary Miller's response established the new order that would govern the galaxy for generations to come. Humanity claims sovereignty over all our original territories, plus reparations for the engineered plague that forced our withdrawal. The species responsible for that biological weapon will surrender significant portions of their empires as compensation. He paused before continuing with an offer that surprised everyone listening. "However, we also offer something that has never existed before in galactic history: true partnership. Species that prove they can be trusted will receive access to selected human technologies. We will share medical advances, clean energy systems, and agricultural improvements with civilizations that demonstrate peaceful intentions." Emperor Sarthek stared at his tactical display showing thousands of human ships that had materialized throughout the system. "How did you achieve such incredible advancement in only 3 centuries?" he asked. Captain Green's response became the most quoted statement in galactic history. "You tried to kill us with an engineered plague," he said simply. "That was your first mistake. Your second mistake was not finishing the job. We spent 300 years making sure no one would ever be able to make those mistakes again." The formal surrender took place on the rebuilt surface of Earth, where alien leaders signed treaties that established humanity as the dominant force in galactic civilization. But unlike previous dominant species, humans offered partnership rather than conquest to those willing to coexist peacefully. Prime Minister Neldar of the Arathi Republic became the first alien leader to sign a mutual cooperation treaty with humanity. "Your species offers hope for a better future," he said to President Johnson. "Perhaps the galaxy can finally move beyond the cycle of war and domination that has defined our history." As alien leaders departed Earth with their new understanding of humanity's capabilities, they carried with them the knowledge that the galaxy had entered a new age. Some species would resist the change and face the consequences. Others would embrace the opportunities for advancement and prosperity that human partnership offered. The humans had returned stronger than ever, and they intended to build a galactic civilization based on cooperation rather than fear. The age of humanity had begun.